Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this pretty little star square. It's got this really pretty pattern in the centre. The centre has one of these in the middle of it. Now it's only 5 rows. It's really easy, and then I'll show you how to turn it from this shape into a square. They're really easy. I finish with 4 stitches, 3 chain and 4 stitches. You could do one more round and do 5 stitches, 3 chain and 5 stitches, and then do the square. Do this part to make it into a square. They're really pretty. It's really easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So to start the inner section of this granny square, we're going to do a magic circle. Now, if you can't do a magic circle, then you can chain 6 and slip stitch it into a little circle. So to start with, we're going to wrap the yarn around your fingers and cross it over. I've got the tail end here. So you'll start with your tail end there. Just wrap your yarn over and just scoop up your stitch. Now you're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Now into your magic ring, I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller. We're going to put 15 UK treble crochets into this ring. That chain of 3 will make number 16. So when you count them all around, you'll have 16 all together. And that is classed as your first stitch. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. It's the same stitch, we just call it something different. So yarn over and in to the ring, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops. So now I've got 2, so that's a chain of 3 is 1 and that was 2. We need 16 altogether. 3, 4. Keep going into the ring until you have 16 stitches all together, including the chain. So count the chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going until you have 16. So this is my last one. And that's 16. I've got 15 in the ring plus the chain of 3. So just pull your tail tight. I'll trim that a little bit. It's a little bit long. As long as you leave enough to sew in, underneath. So I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that chain of 3. So count 1, 2 and 3 stitches. Just slip stitch through. Pull your yarn through and close off the ring. Close it off. Now we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That makes 1 UK treble and 2 chain. Now right in to the same stitch, right in there, you're going to put 1 more stitch. And we're going to make this little V stitch. Like this. So the chain of 5 is 1 stitch and 2 chain. And we'll put 1 more stitch into that same one. So we're going to skip the next stitch. Skip 1 and do that V stitch into the next one. 1 stitch, 2 chain and 1 more stitch. So that's 1 treble, 2 chain and 1 treble. If you're in the USA, that's 1 double crochet, 2 chain and 1 double crochet. So skip that stitch there. And into there, we're going to do that little V stitch. So that's 1 stitch, 2 chain and 1 stitch. You should end up with 8 of these V stitches. Skip 1 stitch and do that V stitch in the next one. 1 stitch, 2 chain and 1 stitch. Skip the next stitch and do a V-stitch in the next one all the way around, and you should have 8 V-stitches. Skip a stitch and do a V-stitch. A little cluster in there. Skip one and do one. We should end up with 8. So I've done my last one. That's my number 8. I'm going to skip that stitch and into 1, 2, 3, the third stitch in that chain of 5. Count 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to slip stitch and pull through. And that's you got your second round done. So in between the V and the chain space stitches, in these chain spaces, we're going to put 2 stitches, 3 chain and 2 stitches into each one. So I'm going to slip stitch into that chain space and just slip through that stitch. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's my first stitch. Yarn over and do one more stitch. Now chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and put 2 more stitches into that space. 1 and 2. Move to the next chain space. Skip these 2 stitches and go into the chain space and do the same thing. 2 stitches, 1 and 2, 3 chain, 1, 2, 3 and 2 stitches, 1 and 2. Do that all the way around. 1 cluster into each chain space. So skip that and go into the chain space. 1 and 2. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and put 2 more into that same space. 1 and 2. All the way around. Now into the top of this chain of 3, we're going to slip stitch. So that's round 3 done. Now we're going to do round 4. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch and slip stitch into that chain of 3. Now we're going to do 3 stitches, 3 chain and 3 stitches into each chain space. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's your first stitch. That's 1. That one's 2. And that one's 3. And chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And put 3 more in that stitch. In that space. 1, 2, and 3. Move to the next chain space and do the cluster. 3 stitches, 3 chain and 3 stitches. All the way around. So we've nearly completed round 4. So count 1, 2, 3 in that stitch, that chain of 3, and we're going to slip stitch and close that round. Now you're going to slip stitch that stitch and that stitch and go into this chain of 3 for round 5. So slip stitch, slip through the next one, just yarn over and pull through that stitch and then into the chain and do the same. So now in the chain spaces we're going to put 4 stitches, 3 chain and 4 stitches. If you want to make this really big, you can continue and do up to 5 and 3 chain and then do your square. So this is the last round for the centrepiece. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That counts as your first stitch. So we're going to do another 3 into this chain space. 1, 2 and 3. So that makes 4. The chain and 3 stitches, that's 4. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the same space put 4 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Move to the next chain space. So skip over these 2 clusters and go into the chain space and do that same cluster. 4 stitches, 3 chain and 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and put 4 more in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And move to the next chain space, and you'll do that all the way around. So I went all the way around, and I'm going to slip stitch to close the round. 1, 2, 3 into the third stitch in that chain, and just slip stitch to close the round. Oops. Slip stitch through and through. I'm going to cut the yarn, leave enough to sew in the ends, pull it through the loop, now I'm just going to leave that and we'll sew all the ends in at the same time. So this is your centrepiece done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the chain space and I'm going to use my contrasting colour. Now it's entirely up to you what contrasting colours that you use for these. You can have it all the same colour, you can change it and have a different colour in the middle, a different colour around the edge, just like I've done with these ones that I've got. I've got one here that's lemon with white. It seems to look better when you've got a darker colour in the middle. This one I've got the white in the middle, but I actually like that one better. And then this one I've got this nice baby pink in the middle of that one. There's a really nice pink in that one. It's not quite so noticeable on the camera, but you can put any colour on with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my first chain, this chain space, and pull the tail through. Wrap that around, wrap that tail around. Not pulling the tail through, we're pulling the yarn through, and I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's my first stitch. Now what I'll do is I'll do a couple of stitches with the tail end in and pull it in as well. So into here I'm going to put another stitch. We're going to make a corner. This is going to be the first corner of our square. So I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and put 2 more stitches in that space. So that's my first corner made. 1 and 2. I'm just keeping the tail in. Now, in between the stitches, not in the top of the stitch, in between the stitches, we're going to do 5 along, 5 stitches along. So go into the first space, that's 1. I'm just going to carry the tail along into the next space, in between the stitches, that's 2. Then I'm going to cut my tail off. To get myself some sharper scissors. So that's 2 into the between the next 2 stitches. That's 3 into the chain space. That's 4 into that space. It's not a chain space, it's just a space. And then in between the next 2 stitches. So that's 5. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a corner, 5 stitches. We're going to do a little stitch around here and then do another 5 and then build another corner in this one. So what you're going to do is that's a peak and we need to get it to go kind of flattish. So in to the next stitch, you're going to do a half treble crochet. That's a half double crochet if you're in the USA. So yarn over and in between the stitches, in the space, not in the stitch, in the space, do a half treble, one half treble. In the next one, you're going to do a double crochet. That's a single crochet if you're in the USA. So that is a half treble, then we're doing a double. Then you're going to slip stitch into that space. Then into the next one, we're going to work our way back up again. So into the next one, we're going to do a double. That's a single if you're in the USA. Into the next one, a half treble or a half double if you're in the USA. And then we're going to do 5 stitches along, 5 UK trebles or 5 doubles along these stitches in between the stitch. And that's going to sort of straighten up the top like this one. So what it's doing, it's kind of going sort of up, but keeping your line sort of straight. We'll do another little dance around at the top on the next round. So this round, to make it square, is only 3 rounds. So we've done this corner and we've worked our way up here and down here. Now we're going to do 5 stitches along to get to the next corner. So in between that stitch, put 1 UK treble crochet. It's a double if you're in the USA. 1 into the next space, that's 2. 1 between the next 2 stitches, in there, that's 3. 1 between the next 2, that's 4. And 1 between the next 2, that's 5. And then we're going to build a corner in here. 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches. 1 and 2. Chain 2 and put 2 more in there. And that's us done our first side and made our next corner. So that's your corner and that's you done that side. So we're going to do 5 stitches along. So 1 into the space, not the stitch, into the space, in between the stitches. So that's 1. 1 into the next one is 2. 1 into the next, in between the stitches, 3. 1 into that space is 4. And 1 in between the next 2 stitches is 5. So that's 5 along. Now we're going to do that half treble, double and slip stitch along this. We're going to sort of straighten that out. That's going to be my next corner. So in between the stitches, do a half a stitch, do your double or single into the next one, whatever country you're in, slip stitch into the chain, then do your double or single, whatever country you're in the next stitch, just pull through your half stitch, half treble or half double, whatever country you're in, yarn over, through, and pull through the 3 loops. Then we're going to work 5 stitches and make a corner. So between the stitches, that's 1. 1 into the space, that's 2. 1 between the next 2 stitches, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to build a corner again. 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches. That's 1 and 2, 2 chain, 1, 2 and 2 more, 1 and 2. And we're going to make another side. You can see it turning itself into this square. So we're going to do 5 stitches along in between the stitches. 1 into the next one's 2, 1 into the next one's 3, 1 into the space 4, and 1 into the next space is 5. Now we're going to do our half a stitch, we're going to do our half treble, we're going to do our double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet, half treble, and then 5 more stitches. And you do whatever one it is in your country. So a half a stitch into the next one in the space, then do your double or single crochet, whatever it is in your country, slip stitch, just slip through that chain, then a double crochet or single, whatever it is in your country, then a half a stitch. Then 5 stitches along. So in between the posts of the stitches, 1 into the space, that's 2, 3, 4, and 1 in between those 2 is 5. We're getting there. We've got one side left. You can write this down if you want. The centre's quite easy. It starts with 16 stitches, then you're doing 1 and 2 chain in 1. Then you're going to 2 chain, then you're going to 2 stitches, 3 chain and 2 stitches. Then you're going to 3 stitches, 3 chain and 3 stitches, then 4 stitches, 3 chain and 4 stitches to make the centre. And then you can write down or watch the video again for the row, the little count. So you do your corner, 5 stitches, then a half treble crochet, a double crochet and a slip stitch. Then a double crochet, a half treble crochet, then 5 trebles along. So we're going to do the corner again. I'll move that out of the way. That's 2 stitches, 1 and 2, 2 chain, 1, 2, and 2 more stitches. That's our last corner done. 1 and 2. Now we're going to do 5 along, go between the stitches. 1, 2. This keeps this all pulled out into its shape. Into the next one's 3. Into the space is 4. And in between the next 2 posts is 5. Then do that little dance across the top. A half a stitch, a double crochet, a slip stitch, a double crochet and a half a stitch, working our way across the top. Then 5 along. We should have 5 spaces along, and we can add this tail in as well, this pink tail. So 1 into the space is 2. I'm putting that little tail in, tuck it in with it. That's 3. 1 into the next one is 4. And 1 into the last, in between the last 2 stitches is 5. I'm going to cut that little pink tail off. That's a little pink one. I'll just have to sew that one in. and we're going to slip stitch to the top of this chain of 3. 1, 2 and 3. Slip stitch and finish that first round of your square. And this is what we have. Pulling it into a square and going in between the posts of the stitches helps to pull that little pattern out. So you're going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Now we're just going to go into the stitches. We're going into the top stitches now. So we'll do 1 stitch into that next stitch. And we're at a corner. We're going to put 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches in this corner. 1 and 2. Chain 2, 1, 2 and 2 more. Now along here we're going to work 7 stitches along. So we're going to work 7 stitches along, and then we'll do a half treble crochet, 2 double crochets and a half treble crochet, and then 7 along and do the corner. We'll do that to each side. So we've done the corner. We're going to work 7 along. So into the stitches this time. We're going in through the stitches this time. 1, 2, 3, 4. My little chain stuck around here. 5, 6 and 7. So you're going to do a half treble crochet in the next stitch. Pull through all your loops. A double crochet in the next one. It's a single if you're in the USA or another country. A single or double in the next one. It's a double crochet if you're in the UK, a single if you're in the USA. Then into the next one, we're going to do the half treble and then work 7 stitches along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 2 chain, 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches in the corner. I'll show you one more time going along here. So we've built our corner. We're going to go along 7 stitches. Don't go into that little tiny stitch there. That belongs to the corner. You're going into the next stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and tuck that down in there. And 7. Now across here, you're going to do your half treble first, then a double crochet. It's a single if you're in the USA, another double, and then a half treble in the next stitch. Then you're going to do your 7 treble crochets. You put 2 stitches, 2 chain, 2 stitches in the corner, work 7, a half treble, a double, and a half treble, and then you'll work along 7 stitches, do your next corner, 7 stitches, then you'll do your half treble, a double, and a half treble, and then finish and slip stitch to the top of this one. You do that all the way around. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 in here is 5, and the 2 that's there is 7. So we're going to slip stitch to the top of that. And this is what you have. Now you can stop there if you want, but I did one more round just to make the edges nice and straight. I did one full round of half treble crochets. That's half double crochets if you're in the USA. So I just did a chain one, and into that same stitch, the same stitch, you're going to put a half treble crochet. It's a half double if you're in the USA. In the corners I put 2 stitches, 2 chain and 2 stitches. That's half trebles. Half trebles all the way along now into the top of a stitch. Yarn over and pull through your 3 loops. Yarn over through the top of the next stitch and through your 3 loops. That's your half treble or a half double if you're in another country. Put 2 into there. That's 1 and 2 and chain 2. Don't make your chains too tight. And 2 in there to make the corner. And that gives you a nice little corner. Work your way along with 1 into each stitch, 1 half treble all the way along. 2 chain and 2 in the corner. 1 half treble, that's 1 double, 1 half double. So that's a half double crochet all the way along. 1 into each stitch. Do your corner, work along, and you'll slip stitch back to here. So I went all around with 1 half treble crochet. That's 1 half double crochet if you're in another country. And I'm going to slip stitch to the top of this one. Pull my yarn up. We'll cut it. You can sew in the end. I'll get a darning needle and I'll sew that in. Just sew in the back along the stitches to hide the tail end. And that is your square done. You can do these in any combination that you want. It is so pretty. It's a beautiful star. It really excels in a bright colour with white around it. The other one I've done is lemon. And then I've got one where I changed the surrounding to lemon. I put the white in the middle to make a little combination. I do like the darker colour in the middle. And then this one I did a lighter pink, but it's not showing up on the camera very well. It's quite a light pink. I do like this one though. It's really, really striking in that colour. It really is. You can make these into blankets and into scarves. All you'll do is just sew up the sides, turn them back to front, and you'll sew that corner to that corner and that corner down to that one and stitch up the sides. And that way you can make a blanket. You can make them into nice cup coasters or just sit it on a table. You can even put a little plant on there as well. So thank you very much for watching. Please click on the subscribe button, and if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.